Following is a production of
the garage area.
Welcome into the garage area. This is our post Homestead Miami recap show. And I think for the first time in a while, we've actually got to see a very good, straightforward race. But people are saying it's a little bit boring too. So I guess we will talk about how we rated the race, but let's start with our picks first. I'm just going to get it out of the way so that you can talk about your glorious win. I picked Tyler Reddick because he was fast. He won the race in the fall. I said before I thought Ryan Blaney could be fast also, and he blew up. Um, but ultimately, Reddick ended up with an eighth place finish and was never really a factor throughout the day. Ryan, who'd you happen to pick?
Well, obviously Kyle Larson. Yeah, he won the race, and I mean, there was no doubt about it.
So that's your second win of the year in pretty short order. Um, I've got to just be buried in the points.
Yeah, you're down 76 on me, so that was that's stage points and race finishes have been doing very well for me.
Yeah, it appears that way. Not so much for me. Uh, I have guys that are competitive that I end up picking every week, but I can't seem to get over the hump and actually get a win. And it's going to take a couple of them by the looks to catch you. So I'm really hoping whoever you pick for Martinsville has a real dud of a race. Unless you pick Logano, then I hope he wins. Uh, but what did you say? What would you say is your rating of this race at Homestead?
Um,
We should start by saying like it was very straightforward. There wasn't a lot of wrecks. I don't think there was any multi-car incidents, was there? Unless you count pit road.
and I didn't remember any anyways.
Yeah, I mean, Bell spun on his own. Blaney blew up. Um, Not even sure what other cautions came out. Yeah, I mean, it was very green, very clean. A lot of the tire fall off was a factor. All of those things go into what I think is a good race. Yeah, sure. I wish there was maybe a wreck or two more that made it a little more entertaining, but I got nothing to complain about from the race as a whole. So again, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. Starting with your opinion, what was your rating?
I'd give it an 8. I thought it was a pretty good race. Definitely at the end when we had the longest green flag run of the race, and Larson was able to drive people down with his tires he saved and stuff with his long run car and stuff. I still feel like there were some aero dependencies there, especially when before Blaney blew up. When I don't remember if it was Larson was catching Hamlin, or maybe it was Blaney was catching Larson when Bubba was leading at that point, and all Larson had to do is kind of pull off the wall down into Blaney's line. It would just, the air would be on Blaney, and Blaney just kind of stalled out there at third. You know, I obviously if the run got longer, the tires would have been probably more of a discrepancy, and one driver would have probably been better at that point. But there was still some of that I didn't like to see, but overall it was still a good race.
Yeah, I think that if you have to judge it based on what you have for a race car that you're running with,
Yeah,
I don't know how it could be better, honestly. Um, I mean, obviously that is the aero dependency of the car that is the reason why that makes that a touchy subject or a lousy factor of the race. So, yeah, I agree with you. A little less aero dependence would still be good, pretty much everywhere. Um, so you're saying an eight.
yeah.
I'm between an eight and a nine, so I guess you have to put me down for an eight and a half. Um, I just don't know what more you could want. Uh, yeah, like I said, wasn't the most entertaining thing from a action standpoint, but as much as I hated to see Kyle Larson run that well, especially because you had him picked, I'm also somewhat tired of seeing Kyle Larson win. Uh, I don't know. It's just that, like you said, like he was coming on old tires. Even as the runs went on, it was like, okay, there might be guys that are faster than the five, but then as the run went off, it just seemed like he fell off less
Yeah.
throughout the run. I don't know if that was a saving of tires or if he just just his driving style works better as the tires wear or what the deal is, but he was able to move back to the front on the long runs.
The only thing I really kind of was thinking about that I wish I could see out of this was if these cars had a little more horsepower, that these tire discrepancies would come up quicker. Instead of
Yeah.
having to have this, what they had, like a 50 lap run to the end there somewhere, 40, 50 laps, that the passing would have happened at, let's say, the 30 to 30 lap mark and stuff instead of, getting down to the last 10, 7 laps, I think is when Larson finally got by Bowman. That maybe the tires could have wore out quicker at that point and maybe played for more strategy.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I agree with you. Let's talk about let's talk about Kyle Larson to start with. Won the truck race, should have won the Xfinity race. You said, I didn't get a chance to watch it, but you said that the truck race was one of the best truck races you've seen in quite a long time.
Yeah.
The Xfinity race, he pretty much dominated, but on the late race restart, didn't have the opportunity to win the race for whatever reason. Just the way the restart went, I guess, is what I mean.
Yeah. Sam Mayer lifted up his rear tires on the restart and everyone else got around him. So,
Yeah. Um, and then may not have had the most dominant car on the Cup side, but still was able to win the race just for the fact of he can just keep it a half inch off the wall for 300 laps or however many there was. That's just a huge skill advantage that he has that a lot of people don't, and that's what I like to see is a racetrack where a driver's skill puts him at the front, even if it is a driver like Kyle Larson. He moves to third on the all-time wins list for Hendrick, behind obviously Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson. Um, Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Larson. Are we in the Kyle Larson era right now? Is he the best driver of this field?
oh, definitely. I think so. I mean, obviously, we'll see how Christopher Bell does throughout the rest of this year and how he does and stuff because I can see a bunch of improvement on his end too. Other than that spin, I think is probably what took him out of contention yesterday. Because he grabbed the inside wall a little bit, and I think his aerodynamics were knocked off for the rest of the race. So, um, to me, Kyle Larson's the guy right now.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to argue with. He just seems like he's fast in anything he's in. Um, Kyle Busch was a lot like that too, to where there was a period of time where, if he was in the truck race, he was going to win it. If he was in the Xfinity race, he was going to win it. And he won a lot on the Cup side too. But I just feel like for whatever reason, I don't know, there's similarities you could draw on paper there, but I feel like Larson is more of a dominant driver in the Cup Series than Kyle was at his peak there in the 18 car. Do you think that that's the actual driver talent, or do you think it's the lack of other drivers in the field that are also talented?
Mm, I don't know. I think Kyle's got a pretty good talent. I mean, he almost everything he hops in, he wins in. You know, he
Yeah, Kyle
obviously
is dominant.
he's only had one start in IndyCar, but he runs strong in IndyCar when he was out there. He wins the sprint cars. He runs late models. And He'd won in modified, dirt modified once, and it just trucks, Xfinity, whatever you put him in, he's running up front and winning races.
Right. But Kyle Busch was racing against, you know, Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards and Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon still for a good period of time. Um, I don't feel like you have a lot of stiff competition for Kyle Larson as much as you did for Kyle Busch. Do you feel that way, or am I just out in left field on that one?
I mean, he's racing against Kyle Busch, and I mean, obviously Kyle Busch has fallen a little bit, but
Yeah, it's not the same thing. You can't make that argument.
but I don't know. I mean, you still got I don't know what you want to say. Hamlin's still out there. You got
Yeah,
uh,
Hamlin hasn't won a race in a year.
well, I mean, because Kyle Larson's one of them. I don't know. I mean, I think he's the best driver and the best equipment, and he's going out there winning races.
Yeah, it's hard to make a case that anybody's better than him right now, but I don't know if it's um I don't know if it's lack of competition or if Kyle is just head and shoulders above everybody. It's hard to tell for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, you could see the talent when he was in the 42 car, but you just know that equipment wasn't up to par with Hendrick cars. And once he got in that Hendrick car 2021, he won 10 races in a championship like that. I
Yeah.
mean, I just think he had to put him in the right equipment and he's gone, just taken off.
It's amazing the circumstances that led him there too. Uh, so I guess if we're talking about Hendrick drivers, Larson obviously really fast. Byron has run really well. Where did he finish Sunday?
Who's that, Byron?
Yeah.
He had a pit road penalty there at the end. Um, I think it was 12th or 13th, somewhere in there. 12th he finished.
Okay. Um, but he's run pretty strong all year. I'm not sure where he's at in the points right now, but he's got to be near the top.
Yeah, I think he is the points leader.
Yeah. So obviously those two guys running really well. Alex Bowman is somebody that people have talked about him being on the hot seat, but he ran really well at Homestead this weekend. Did he lead the most laps?
Um, Bubba Wallace led 56.
I wondered if maybe Bubba led the most, but
Yeah, 56 for Bubba, 43 for Bowman.
yeah, I knew Bowman was out front a lot. Obviously, Bubba was out front the most. Um, did you feel that Kyle Larson ran down Alex Bowman and passed him, or do you think that Bowman they didn't show it very well on the broadcast, I didn't think. I saw clips of it afterwards that Bowman actually got on the wall really hard as Larson went to pass him.
Oh, yeah, I saw he got into the wall, but you know, I think Larson was catching him and Bowman was pushing harder to try and not let him catch him, and he got into the wall. So
Do you think that that speaks to Alex Bowman's I don't know why I'm being nice because I'm noted as calling him a hack. Do you think that that speaks of Alex Bowman's hackability, or is it um, just bad place, bad time, and Larson was coming?
I don't know what you're saying by that. I just Larson was coming
Well,
and
I
he
mean,
was.
like, yeah, but I mean, like, do you think it was the pressure of Kyle Larson coming that caused Bowman to make a stupid mistake? Or do you think that it was just Bowman was driving as hard as he could and he just slipped up a little bit and Larson was going to pass him no matter what anyway?
Yeah, I think Bowman was pushing harder and slipped up and hit the wall. Like because he knew Kyle was coming. I think if had Kyle not
So
been coming, he'd have been more safe and just minding his gap. Because at the time Bubba was running second, I think Bowman was just minding his gap back to Bubba. And then once Larson blew by Bubba, it was pretty much game on at that point, and he made a mistake. I think even Bowman admitted it on
yeah,
Twitter. Says it lost to the baddest man on the planet. So, or the baddest man
oh,
on the planet from the pressure or something like that. Yeah,
that's just a cop out. Bowman's hackability came out. Thank you for admitting that. I appreciate you saying that. Doesn't deserve to be in the 48 card. Doesn't deserve to drive at Hendrick Motorsports. Thank you for saying all that with that short little answer that you gave. Um, so yeah, I think he's on the hot seat. I think Kyle Busch is going to drive the 48 next year. Anyway, uh, as long as we're on the topic of Hendrick cars, obviously you think that Chase Elliott should be fired as well because he's not performing well.
yeah, definitely.
Where did he finish in this race?
18th.
So he really wasn't even on the map all day.
Yeah, he was in the top 10, and he got that pit road penalty. Um, he wasn't in line when they crossed the start finish line to be on pit road. It was some I don't remember the technical rule to it, but he broke the rule, I guess. So
Yeah.
once he got back in traffic, he just couldn't get up through traffic like anybody else could. Like Byron got a penalty later than Elliott did, and drove up to 12th and passed Elliott. So as long as Elliott, for some reason, I can see it this year. Once he's up front and cleaner air, he can run up front. But once he gets stuck back in traffic, he just can't drive up through the traffic.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if his performance turns around because it wasn't just this race. I feel like this year as a whole, he's not really run that great.
Yeah.
Obviously won the Clash, and I kind of thought that momentum would carry him forward into the rest of the year, and it hasn't really done that.
Yeah, I
And
thought the back end of last year he was improving too, and I thought maybe carry into this year, and it doesn't seem to have.
yeah, I'll tell you who is running well though, at least this past weekend, is Bubba Wallace. As you just said, he led the most laps this past weekend and looked really strong. But I said too, as I was watching the broadcast, when Bowman got by him, I thought, I don't know if he'll come back to Bubba or not, or if he's going to drive away here. But as soon as I saw how hard the five was coming and the five cleared the 23, I said, Kyle Larson won this race. I said that out loud as I was watching it. Um, but Bubba's performance has been a lot better, and I don't think that I think that he had a really fast car. I don't think he necessarily burned his stuff up to where he had the winning car and then lost the race. I think that he was running well, and you just weren't going to beat the five. And I think that they had a really good, clean day, and it was impressive for that team, especially the 23 team. And I wish that that was the 45 because my pick would have been better.
I
But
Yeah, I mean he got out of that car what that car had. They were good on the short run. You know, the previous run when Blaney blew up, they were catching him then too to pass him, but Blaney blew up before they got by him. So, um, he had a fast car, run up front, especially in the short run. It just, everyone else was better on the long run.
yeah, you mentioned it too. Ryan Blaney really fast, as you would expect at Homestead, and ended up grenading an engine for the second time in 2025. I think he's had five total engine failures in his career prior to this year, and that's two in 5 weeks or whatever it's been, 6 weeks, and depending on if you count the clash or not. Um, Joey Logano, Josh Berry had some contact on pit road. Um, I don't know. That was like the most exciting crash of the race. Um, I don't really know who you put the blame on there or how you would who you'd say is at fault, but I don't know. It just seems like a weird incident to happen, but it was hard to pick it apart either.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw Josh Berry pull out and look like he clipped the five and then bounced off the five and took out the 22. That's how I saw it. So, um, what was interesting is the five had a hole in front of his exhaust. They said it was like the size of a baseball, and they were originally going to come down and fix it, and they decided not to. And I don't think they touched it the rest of the day, and it didn't seem to affect them. So,
Yeah. Um, like we talked about with Ryan Blaney being fast, he ended up winning stage one. Denny Hamlin won stage two. I can't remember. I saw a stat somewhere about um, that was the first stage that Hamlin had won in like I forget how many races, a ton of time, where I would have guessed as well as he's run for the last year and a half that he probably had at least won a stage somewhere along the line, but that was the first one in quite a while.
I
The other note that I had was that Christopher Bell is the only Joe Gibbs car to win since last April, which I think is pretty interesting and probably a little concerning for JGR as well.
yeah, when talking about Hamlin and his stage wins, it just he got like three wins off the bat early last year, and it felt like he fell off the rest of the year.
Yeah,
Because I think I picked him to be the champion last year, beginning of the year, like he was gonna, especially after he won those three races. I thought, oh, no doubt about it, he'd be in a Final Four at least. And he just never after that point he won the three races. It just seemed like he fell off the map.
yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping happens to Christopher Bell this year too, and he's well on his way. Uh, The Xfinity fastest lap, it was won by Bubba Wallace. That's awesome to see that be from somebody that's running out front and not a mid-lap car gaining draft or what. Like the way that you run at Homestead, you should be rewarded for being out front, and it looks like he was with the fastest lap award. Um, that's pretty much everything that I have from the Cup race. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on?
I think that's probably about it.
And as we said, Larson won the truck race, and as you mentioned, it was one of the best rated truck races you'd seen. Corey Heim may have had something for Larson, but kept having power issues inside the truck. So, and even still, even with Larson running the top side, it looked like Heim was still running the bottom pretty well and could have fought with him a little bit in those two different lanes, which would have been neat to see. Usually, at night when the track cools down a little bit, that bottom lane has a little more grip than it does in the daytime.
Yeah, most
Uh,
definitely. But it was. I just thought all of the. I don't remember what it was now. Lane Riggs was up there. Corey Heim and Kyle Larson. They were all battling up front the whole race for the lead and stuff. And it just. It was for once a truck race that didn't look like so much aero dependency. Almost talking about the cup cars again, but they they definitely put on a battle. Larson's drive from like 24th with 40 to go, just running that wall was unbelievable. I mean, obviously he's probably the most talented guy out there. I mean, Corey Heim had not had those electrical issues, he'd probably won the race. But Corey Heim getting past while restarting his or refiring his truck and getting back to the lead and having to reset his truck every few laps and trying to keep the lead was pretty impressive too. But that was it was a fun one to watch.
and as far as the Xfinity race, I didn't watch any of that, but it seems like Justin Allgaier finally had one come back around to him.
Yeah.
He's lost a lot of them on the final restart after having a really good day, and he finally won one on the final restart after not dominating the race.
Yeah, Kyle Larson had like a 15-second lead, lapped up to the top five, 4 or 5 or something like that, and yeah, Sam Mayer kind of missed time to restart. He said, and lifted Larson's wheels off the ground, and that was all she wrote.
All right. Well, is there anything else that you want to touch on from the Homestead weekend then?
Um, that's all I got.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I got too. Here's some rumors about Homestead maybe coming back to be the championship race. I think that'd be a good thing. I think everybody agrees that's a positive. Um, some throwback schemes getting revealed this week. Um, have you seen Chase Elliott's throwback? I'm sure you have.
Yeah,
To the
for
Harry
Ken
Gant
Schrader.
or Ken Schrader, not Harry Gant. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was the 51 was. Um, but yeah, the Ken Schrader throwback, it doesn't look like the throwback.
I didn't actually see the throwback car, the actual car. I just saw the Chase's paint scheme, so I didn't.
I saw somebody do it in like a paint shop program on Twitter. They had posted a better version of that throwback. And it's like, yeah, why didn't they run that one? It's like not even close to the same level as the Terry Labonte throwback that Larson drove last year. And I
Yeah,
feel like they could have done such a better job with it. So I was a little disappointed in your driver for that.
I
Because I
haven't
think
really
you made,
liked many of Chase's throwbacks. I feel like they're all just kind of this half attempt to look like something, or some of them weren't even throwbacks to actual race cars. One was like a Napa branding throwback or something like that. It wasn't even had to deal with NASCAR or something like that. It was more of a Napa 1900s or something. I don't know, but it was more like an old Napa truck instead of a actual racing throwback like this weekend was kind of meant to be. But um,
yeah.
yeah, I haven't really liked many of Chase's throwbacks. So
Yeah, the only one that sticks out to me is the Dale Jr. Daytona 500 one I thought was decent.
yeah, that just came to my mind when I was trying to think of them. That was the only one that came back to it. But
Yeah.
that may be the Bill Elliott one he ran. He ran in
Yeah.
a
That
red one.
Lumar one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That was pretty good too. You're right. But yeah, I feel like some of those guys they miss it. And I feel like they did with this one this time. I think that the Denny Hamlin back to the Office Depot Carl Edwards one, I don't know why they're doing that throwback, but I do think that it looks good.
yeah.
It looks like the Office Depot car did.
I just barely saw that one briefly, but
Yeah. Well, looking forward to Martinsville, hoping that we get some good racing there, some good short track racing, and not some of the stuff that we've seen in the past. Hope that the tire from last fall, it sounds like is what they're bringing back, and hopefully that provides some pretty decent racing, and there's no more shenanigans with your Hendrick boys or the JGR guys.
I don't think we got to worry about that till the fall. So
You're probably right. All right, well, until then, I guess keep it right here at the garage area for some more short clips that Ryan's been masterfully putting out for us, and we'll be right back here to talk about everything post Martinsville. See you then.